Penn State football fans, how are you? I'm Bob Flounders. David Jones is in Downingtown. It's blue-white breakdown time. Dave, you usually have a college T-shirt on. Is that a college T-shirt? I can't see it.
No, man, look.
Ooh, a teeny
Remember?
Little League.
Monet Davis.
Oh, okay.
This is my most do you have a go-to comfort T-shirt that really has irrespective
I
of
think
what
all I have is T-shirts, so they're all comfortable.
Well, they're not all equally comfortable.
No, you're right. You're right. I know. For lounging around, yeah, I have a couple of go-tos, sure.
Yeah, well, this one fits. I've got a Missouri T-shirt and this one, and they fit the best. This is my most comfortable T-shirt, irrespective of what's on it. Plus, there's a reminder for you. I don't even have a college cap on. It's a reminder for you, Bob. Before you dig, call 811 before you dig. In case you're digging anywhere, maybe right. I don't know what you might dig for.
I'm not sure I want to know how you got that hat, but I'm sure it's got a story.
I don't even remember how I
don't know that they're ready for it. I don't know that they're ready for
it. What a strange hat. So Penn Staters should be proud that they had the most draft picks of any Big Ten school. And what was it, 4th or 5th in the country?
I think they were 4th in the country. 8 guys. I thought they had an outside shot at 9. Then for a while there, it looked like it was only going to be 5, and then a bunch of them went very late. But yeah, Dave, this is the biggest Penn State draft class since 1996. So yeah.
More than that, my buddy Brett Ciancia from Pick 6 Previews here in Chester County tweeted out yesterday a very interesting graphic that the most NFL draft picks the last 5 years. So you can guess who's on top: Alabama and then Georgia with 48 and 44.
Right.
So this is the last 5 seasons. This is pretty much the glory days of the James Franklin era once he got his own guys, right? Then Ohio State with 42, Louisiana State with 41, and who's 5th? Penn State with 31. 31 guys in the last 5 years drafted. So my question to you, Bob, is if these recruiting rankings are to be trusted, with all the 4 and, well, not too many 5 stars, but very highly ranked recruiting classes in the last 5 years, and the NFL player personnel people and GMs are to be trusted over their judgment the last 4 or 5 years. What's happening in between when these guys are at Penn State? That's my question to you, Greg.
I think
I put it to you, Greg.
Did you just pull an Animal House? Did you just Greg Marmalade me? Greg Marmalade? Me?
Yeah, that's an Animal House.
Don't try and do that to me. You'll never get it. You'll never get it past me. Dave, I will say, the 2016, 2017, and 2019 Penn State teams, I think are probably involved in this number. And those were 3 very, very talented Penn State teams. On the other hand, 18 4 losses, 20 5 losses, 21 6 losses, and it's just not. You can't. It's not acceptable in any way.
These guys are being gobbled up by the NFL.
You know what? Though I would say is Penn State's not producing a lot of elite quarterbacks, and that one position can really, really be a huge difference. I would say that. But you're right. There is no excuse for them to be 11-11 the last 2 years. They should have never lost 4 games in 2018. They should have never. I mean, even 16 and 17. I mean, that 17 team could easily beat Ohio State and Michigan State, and then who knows what we're talking about? But
I mean, for this to happen and not one college football playoff appearance, all of those, the only that Brett Ciancia list, the Brett Ciancia list I was telling you about, among the top of the last 5 years, among the top 11 on that list, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, LSU, Penn State, Michigan 6th, Florida 7th, Oklahoma 8th, Notre Dame 9th, Clemson 10th, Washington 11th, only 2 of those schools didn't have a college football playoff appearance at all: Penn State and Florida.
And I do think 16 they deserved a better fate. I think they should have gone, and I think they would have been more representative if they gotten in. Of the Big Ten.
Yeah, they would have done.
I think that Ohio State.
Who would they have played? Washington.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. They got beat like 28-7 by, I think, Alabama.
Alabama, yeah.
Alabama.
I don't remember.
Hey, Dave, I was going to say, Dave, this is a great time of year. You got the NBA playoffs, you got the NHL playoffs, the draft just came and gone. It's Mother's Day on Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to everyone in advance, and also it's Kentucky Derby Saturday. How about that? There's a lot going on, but I guess let's talk about.
Do you know your ponies, or you don't?
No. I just wanted to say it's just a fun time of year. That's all I was going to say. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the draft, and I want to talk a little bit about. I know you're not a big fan of the mock drafts. I know, especially 2 days after the draft is over.
Yeah, but not a year in advance. Okay.
The guy
you're going to get it out. So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, I want to talk about this draft first, and I just think that you started off the show with a very valid point, man. What in the world is going on? They've had a lot of guys drafted. They've had a lot of guys go pretty early in the draft too. And what is the what do they have to show for it on the field? Not very much. And I think I just think this is not, the fan base they're not stupid. This is not a great look for Penn State. Don't you do it. Don't do it. You better be careful.
I didn't say anything.
You better be careful.
Say anything. Do you want? I am actually curious, because a lot more about the NFL than I do. I'm curious of your thoughts about what kind of chances each of these guys have to make impacts with their team. So I'm going to go through them. If you want to do that, that would be fun.
Let's do it.
Dotson with the Commanders. Now they obtained Carson Wentz.
See, that's the problem, right? Let me stop you right there. That
would they have been better off with Heineke or what?
I think, I'm not sure, Dave. I should probably. Did they take a quarterback later in the draft though, or not?
Yes, they did. Some kid that I had not. He was supposedly, when he was a freshman.
Matt Corral or somebody like that? No, that was the Panthers.
No, it wasn't Corral. He was later on.
All right, I'm going to get on this, but yeah. They can't. I don't know that Carson. I think Carson Wentz. I think the dishes are done with that guy. I'm really stunned that the Colts were able to get anything for him after he just imploded late last season.
Kind of reminds you of the James Harden trade, right, with Simmons?
Yeah,
they got what they could get. But he's going to be the starter for Washington, right? I mean,
Sam Howell. They took Sam Howell later in the draft.
Yeah, that's the kid. Yeah.
Yeah, he is going to be the starter. And you know what? If Frank Reich couldn't fix him, because he played his best football when Frank Reich was the OC for the Eagles. If he gave up on him, Dave, there is nobody in the Redskins camp that's going to be able to.
That's probably a bad sign. Plus, as I recall, their protection was not the greatest. Is that right with Washington?
Yeah, they do have some issues, and they lost a guy in free agency, Brandon Scherf, the former Iowa star, left. But the one thing that I think might help Jahan is, when he was at Penn State, the last 2 years, he was the pass offense. You know what I mean? You could say, Pat Freiermuth only played a couple of games in 2020, shut it down. I think he had shoulder surgery. I mean, Jahan was out there by himself. Now, he did get a lot of targets.
He's got Terry McLaurin, right?
Yes, he has McLaurin, who is probably a legit number one, 2,000-yard seasons consecutively. So, if you want to make the argument that it could be pretty good for Jahan, it is that he's not going to be the number one option in that offense. So he should get some favorable coverage matchups because he's got the hands, Dave. He's a great route runner. He's certainly fast enough. It comes down to how good Carson Wentz is going to be.
With Wentz testing him on balls thrown this way and behind him, and he'll get a chance to test out his skills on those.
You could make the argument that maybe Sean Clifford got him a little bit more experience with that at times. I don't know. You
No,
tell
I'm
me.
talking about.
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I'm talking about Wentz.
No,
right?
I'm talking about Sean Clifford had a little of that in him at times the
Yeah,
last.
well, yeah. Well, he certainly has tape to prove it. Okay, so anyway, you like Jahan's choice
Sure,
with Washington or no? Okay,
I do, and things can change in a hurry when you finally do get a good quarterback. Things can change in a hurry for a wide receiver.
all right. Now the Falcons needed edge rushers quite badly, and they chose Arnold Ebiketie. I think it was 36, 38, right
38,
there
traded up to
somewhere
get him. Right.
early in the second round. And he's going to apparently get an opportunity to play immediately. Would you say as an edge rusher or no?
They had 18 sacks total last year. The Falcons. Their leading sack guy was Dante Fowler Jr. I think he had 4.5. He's with the Cowboys, and he's going to be like he's not even, I think, going to be an every down player. Arnold Ebiketie is absolutely in a great spot because he is a legit talent. I was very impressed with him. I think he's going to get better, and I think he's certainly going to get every opportunity. For that second contract. You know what I mean? It's the second, when you're in the second or third round, or if you're not a first round pick, it's really that second contract that if you can really play well, you can break the bank. And I think of all the players that got drafted, he was probably my favorite player to watch in 2021. And I just thought, he in every game, Dave, he was dangerous. He didn't always get the sack, but he was around the quarterback an awful lot. He missed some sacks, but man, I think he's a terrific player. Since I've been covering Penn State, Dave, I would say the only player that I would say might be a little bit better than him off the edge for me was Tom Bahali. I think he's better than Etor Gross-Matos. Aaron Maben was kind of he was a 225-pound. He made the most of that 1 year. He was a first-round pick, but he just didn't work out for him. He was too small. I think Ebiketie is the closest thing I've seen at Penn State to Tom Bahali.
And it's such an important position in today's NFL, more maybe now than it ever has been. And the draft showed that. I think there were 3 edge rushers taken in the first 6 or 7 picks.
Yeah, Trayvon Walker, Hutchinson, and then that Oregon kid Thibodeau. I think they went in the top 5. Yeah,
and Ojabo probably would have been it if he hadn't. That got by me. He tore his Achilles during his pro day.
Yeah,
I just read it. I had no idea that got by me completely during basketball.
Yeah, wow. And he went. So in 2 years, man, this Ravens defense is going to be the talk of the NFL because they're going to have Owe, who's a freak on one edge, and they're going to have this guy on the other edge. They got Kyle Hamilton. They stole Tyler Linderbaum to be the anchor at center. I mean, they got that gigantic 6'10" tackle from Minnesota. I think the Jets and the Ravens did the best in the draft, but that is going to be a very fun.
So you think Linderbaum's arms are long enough? It cracks me up. Doesn't it crack you up when you see these draft analyses with the metrics guy, the analytics guys? Well, he's got short arms. He's a football player. He's a monster, man. Yeah. And so he lasted until the end of the first round. But there were people who were saying he was good because of his draft analytics that he might last into the second, which is insanity. And I don't believe the Ravens were expected to take a center, were they? It wasn't really a possession.
I think the Ravens are real good at. They don't always prioritize need, but they're not going to pass on an elite player.
Which brings us to Jaquan Brisker with the Bears. They absolutely needed secondary help. In fact, they drafted a corner right before Kyler Gordon from Washington. A few picks before Brisker. So again, a guy who he's going to get a chance to play, that, and he has no regard for his body. We've seen that. I suppose they're going to play him at strong safety. Is he durable enough? Do you think he's going to stay healthy?
Well, I think he can do some things out. I don't think he's necessarily going to has to be in the box. Maybe on obvious running situations, but he more than made some plays, I think, in the passing game. But I think he's a hybrid player that I think that they can play him almost at either safety spot. And the last safety that the Bears took from Penn State turned into one of the best safeties in the game. Adrian Amos was picked by them in the 5th round of 2015. What a steal!
I thought of him when during the battle days of the O'Brien.
He was originally a Joe Paterno recruit, and then he had a couple really good years with Billy, and then he had his last year at Penn State in 14 was also good. He could play safety or corner. He's getting well paid, deservedly so. I think Brisker, you said it, Dave, he might be too reckless for his own good. I hope none of these nagging injuries shorten his career.
Yeah, because he just clearly a leader, clearly a guy who will put his body on the line at any point, and I'm sure the Bears love that. Then I was asked to choose somebody because I'd done this list of not necessarily sleepers, but guys who looked undervalued with their choice through the ages in Penn State history, and then turned out to be pretty good players from Saturday choices, or what is now a Saturday choice, 4th round or later is what I made it, 3rd or 4th round or later. And I chose Brandon Smith. Now, I'm not predicting he's going to do it because, to me, he's kind of a guy who has all the measurables, but you wonder whether he's a football player. And you better be a football player in the NFL or you're not going to last. So the Panthers got him, which is he's sort of the anti-Luke Kuechly, right? Who is nothing but a football player.
Right.
And will be a Hall of Famer, you think?
I think at some point Luke is going to get into the Hall of Fame, correct?
Yeah. I mean, but he put his body on the line. You talk about putting your body on the line constantly. He had like 8 seasons, and then he was done. Brandon Smith has all the measurables. He's big. He's fast. He can change directions, but he's not a terribly good tackler, or he hasn't shown it. And takes bad angles sometimes. This is what we would talk about, or either run himself out of plays or didn't see the play. He's not a dumb guy. He's certainly an intelligent kid. So what's the deal with Brandon Smith, and what do you think Matt Rule saw him? And then Phil Snow. I mean, he couldn't be in a better situation as far as guys who know linebackers and a top-down structure in that place where all of those coaches, from Rule to Phil Snow to their linebackers coach, have all been together for like 10 years. So there will be no questions or discrepancies in his coaching.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Snow and you mentioned Matt. They did great work at Temple, and I think they were Snow was his DC at Baylor too, correct or no?
Yeah, they were all together. Mike Saravo too, the linebackers coach. They've all been together for 10 years.
They know defense. They know how to get guys in their best positions to succeed. He did it at Temple. He did it at Baylor. I think that Brandon Smith, he's an upside pick for me all the way. There's no question to me he's more talented than going 120 overall in the draft, but I think teams had some concerns that you just mentioned. But boy, I think in the right system, and you said it, he's fast and he's big. You turn those players loose, Dave. You don't have them. I don't necessarily want to see him maybe, on the weak side where, in a lot of traffic, trying to fight his way through guards and centers, which he tried to do. To your point, he did miss some tackles. He also made some incredible plays at Penn State. He's rangy. He can run. He had 5 passes defensed. I think there's another level to this kid's game. I think he could become almost a situational pass rusher at that size and at that speed. And he was never really asked to do it at Penn State. A lot like Micah Parsons, even though he was a defensive end in high school. They didn't ask him to do a lot of that stuff at Penn State. It was only late in his career I thought they turned him loose. You saw what happened in the Cotton Bowl. I'm not saying Brandon Smith's Micah, but I do think absolutely I think you picked the right guy to have a chance to be a guy that plays in the league for a long time. He does have some things he needs to clean up. He's a young player, but boy, physically there were not very many talented linebackers, more so than him in the draft. And I think the thing
about physically gifted players is that they lend themselves to versatility. So sometimes coaches can't decide what the hell to do with him, and they want to try him out at every specific thing. And then maybe that's his only problem. Maybe just turn him loose as an edge rusher and see what happens. And I suppose he could cover tight ends. He can
absolutely cover tight ends.
He could be a decent guy in coverage. Yeah. But maybe you got the thing. Maybe that's what he is, and he's never been tested really at that position.
Dave, you covered athletically, you covered a similar player, Cameron Wake, who played linebacker at Penn State. And I don't even think he was drafted. And the minute he kind of got a little bit bigger and he learned how to become a defensive end, he played until his mid-30s in the league. He had to go to Canada for a couple of years, but when he came, he made a lot of money. He was a hell of a player, but he is, he's about the same size as Brandon Smith. I think Brandon Smith can do a lot of things to help an NFL team, but I don't know if you're going to ask him to take on 300-pound guards in the hole. I don't know that's his best. That's the best spot for him.
Well, he's certainly an interesting player and an interesting pick. And Matt Rule and Phil Snow liked what they saw there, and they believe they can make him into something. Then we come later in the fourth round to the best punter in my time at Penn State, which is a long time.
Yeah,
I didn't cover John Bruno, who had the dust up with the Miami Hurricanes in 1986, the Fiesta Bowl. But I don't think John Bruno was the punter that Jordan Stout is. Punters, now let me ask you this. It seems to me that punters, really good punters, like 46 yards, a punters with altitude, with guys who can, and not only that, but can consistently pretty much control where they kick it, are incredibly valuable people. But I guess you could argue these days in the NFL, with all the scoring, punters might have been devalued. But it has always amazed me that punters are almost never picked before the fourth round if you've got one like this. So have I isolated the reason or what?
Well, yes, but I would say that Stout's versatility, he could be the kickoff guy, and if anything happens the Ravens have the best kicker maybe of all time, but if God forbid anything happened to Jason Tucker, even though he was like a 65% kicker this past year, you can use him in a pinch to kick a long field goal or something like that. He can do 3 different jobs, but he was the best punter in the Big Ten this past year. The Ravens, I think, had 6 fourth-round picks, and the one advantage to have 6 fourth-round picks is you can take whoever the hell you want in the fourth round.
I mentioned this. I'm getting ready to put up later this afternoon, and I mentioned this. He was there. He was chosen with the 130th pick in the draft in the 4th round, and they had 2 fourth-round guys after him. He was their 8th pick, and he was the 130th pick.
Yeah.
When you got that many, you can take a flyer on a guy at a place where you might not have normally, right?
What's the deal with that Virginia Tech coaching staff that let this guy go to Penn State? What the heck? Was it Fuente? Was Fuente the coach when he was there?
Yeah, it was. And I hooked
What
up.
the hell, man?
Yeah, I remember hooking up Greg Pickle. He was all excited with.
He does get easily excited.
Well, Greg. With my nephew Josh, who had just, I don't think he had transferred.
I think his last year there was 18 at Virginia Tech.
Yeah. And he said right back to me, "Oh my God, they got a great player."
What an idiot!
Boy, they did.
Next time you see Greg Pickle, congratulate him. He got another dog. That's all I'm going to say. Now he's got 2.
Oh, they got 2. Did he get another golden, or what did they get?
He did. There's a second golden now in the Pickle house.
What is it about golden owners? There's so many of them with 2. They've got to get 2.
You got a problem with golden retrievers? You do not have.
Steve Bench.
You would have 3 German Shepherds if Anna let you.
You know
what?
I'd
no
have
way you wouldn't have multiple German Shepherds running.
Or as they say around here, a git. If Howard Eskin said it, he said, "What do you have a git?"
I saw you trying to wind old Howard Eskin's watch on Twitter.
Well, geez. Did you see what he said? What?
I did.
Why would you have any problem with the honey badger going back to New Orleans? I guess he just wanted the money.
No, No, it was about the Sixers thing.
No, I don't care about that. I wound his watch again this
Okay,
morning.
you did.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
It's sport around here to mess with Howard.
You just decided to get into an exchange with Howard Eskin.
Until he finally says, "Don't call my show. Don't call my show. Get out of here. You're a joke. Get out of here."
All right. I'm sorry I interrupted your train of thought. Proceed.
Next is Tariq Castro-Fields. I've got my own thoughts about him. 49ers got a crowded DV room, which is kind of odd. And he might have to prove his worth on special teams, I suppose. Is that your view of this?
Yeah. When you go that late in the draft and you're that fast and there's no guarantee you're going to start, you better be able to play special teams. He certainly can do it. Dave, we talked about it last week. To me, my number one concern with Tariq is you never knew when you were going to have him healthy and ready to go. He missed some time, in a little bit in 19, a lot in 20. And he just is a guy that I just, if he's not 100%, if he's 85%, can he play? That's my thoughts on Tariq Castro-Fields, because he did miss some time at Penn State, and I think maybe he certainly could cover. He certainly can run. He's big enough. So for him to last into the sixth round, there had to be some reservations there, I think.
Yeah, well, another guy who you wonder if he's a football player. He's big and fast for a corner, big and fast for his position, like Brandon Smith. But is he a football player? That's, I think, one of those guys that looks great in shorts, but not so much in pads, as Ernie Accorsi used to fondly say. So we don't know about him. Then you come to the guys who you're almost sorry that they got chosen, because they'd be better off as free agents in the seventh round. But they're going to get a chance regardless. If they get cut late, then they have to scramble around and get a practice squad. Rasheed Walker going to the Packers, who are also kind of overloaded with tackles. They took 2 left tackles before him in this draft.
They might. Well, there was some talk, Dave, that they might want to move him to guard. I mean, he could get kicked inside because of his feet. Maybe he's a guard. He's pretty proficient as a run blocker, and maybe the pass blocking was a little bit of an issue. He got exposed against those Big Ten defensive ends and those Auburn cats this year. But my thought about him was, if they took a couple of tackles in front of him, they might be thinking about him in another role. He also was, I think that knee injury probably really cost him too. Torn meniscus in his right knee. Also had a bone bruise, a serious bone bruise in the same knee. I think it could just be a total redshirt year for him. They put him on IR, they put him on that PUP list, and they just try and get him healthy for 2023, because I mean, if he's not going to play offensive tackle, if he's not ready to play guard and he's not healthy, maybe they're just getting ready for 2023 with Rasheed.
And finally, the 8th Penn State pick, not
Jesse.
Quite Mr. Irrelevant, but almost down there, close to the Cardinals. Is he going to be Jason Kabinda? Is he going to be a fullback someday? Jesse Luketa going to the Cardinals at 256. But this is a kid who loves to play football. I give this kid a pretty good chance to make a roster somewhere as a special teams player, something. I don't know what. And, Jason Kabinda said the same thing. They kind of remind me of each other in the way that they love to play the game. And you thought at some point, maybe Kabinda's not as fast as an NFL player should be. But, man, they found a place for him on their roster. He got cut, and then he went to Detroit. And he last I knew, he's still a fullback, right?
Yeah, he might have been a Pro Bowl alternate, or he might have played in the Pro Bowl. I mean, honestly, he was that good. You know what? It just depends on what that Steve Keim is the GM, by the way, of the Cardinals. He went to Redland. So he's always kind of got an eye on Penn State players. But I would say with Jesse, it's just, if you're your defensive coordinator, how do you see Jesse Luketa? Do you see him as the role that he played at Penn State in 2020, or do you see him as kind of a stand-up defensive end who can also put his hand in the ground and be like a sub guy and be a rotational end? Or do you just draft him because he can do both? But I'm with you. It might not be the Cardinals right away, but he is too determined and too talented, I think, to not find his way to a team in the NFL. A little like Kevin Givens with the Niners. I think he had to overcome a little adversity initially, and now he's part of their defensive line rotation. I think Luchetti is a violent player too, and I think he can really help the right team. He's just going to have to be patient. If it's not the Cardinals, it's going to be somebody else.
All right. I like that bit. I like listening to, very frankly, I like listening to your NFL knowledge because I work all day on that damn power poll on Sundays, and I just don't get a chance to watch the NFL except Sunday night, maybe when I get done, or the Monday night game or Thursday night games. I just don't watch enough of it to know as much as you do about it. But that was fun. Before we leave, I want to get your take on the Mavs last night and Luka and that whole series, because it doesn't look good for them, but they hung in there, man, against the Suns. I thought they played really well the last.
Yeah, they just. I think kids said it after the game. I mean, Luka can only do so much. I'm just glad that he's healthy. Honestly, Dave, I was just worried that if they rushed him back, he was going to do something else to that lower leg injury. He looks good. Brunson looks good, but man, you know the Suns are a different animal. They're not the Utah Jazz. They have that.
No, man.
How about that Chris Paul game to close out the Pelicans?
They thought he might never miss. Yeah,
and he made all his free throws. And he's 37.
Yeah.
What do you do?
This is the middle of the playoffs.
I think the Mavs can win a couple games, but the Suns with Ayton inside. Don't they have Michael Bridges too? That kid from Villanova.
Mikal Bridges. Yes, they do. Yeah.
He's a talented player.
Which segues into the Sixers. People might ask why I'm asking you about the Mavs, but that's your team. I don't know what this affinity you have is with Dallas. Why don't you move to Texas if you like Dallas so much? Because he likes the Cowboys too.
But Mavericks, Cowboys, Texas Rangers. I like the St. Joe's Hawks and the New York Rangers. For those. But
remember, Mikal Bridges was for about 10 minutes a Sixer. Yeah. They couldn't use him now, could they? There are so many. I'm not even going to get into the hard.
Feels like a column.
Well, I already wrote it. I already read it. If they'd unloaded Simmons before last year, they could have gotten a lot more for him than Harden. I think the only reason they got Harden is no one. The Nets were the only team that wanted to get rid of somebody that was worthy of fair value, and now here we are. We're looking at James Harden at 34 and looking. I guess he's 33, but looking 37. He has no lift, and he doesn't shoot as well.
He's not in shape, is he, Dave? Is he in shape? Huh? Is he in shape?
I think he's in shape, man, but he looks 33. I mean, he doesn't have any.
Did Maxey get into it with him last night? Did you see that clip? Did he yell at him on the? Did Maxey get into it with him last night? The kid from Kentucky.
I turned it off before that happened. I didn't see that.
There was a clip on social media. I think there was. I'll have to Google it, but I think there might have been a little bit of a
dust up.
Yeah, not physical. It was just I think Maxey was frustrated.
Well, Tyrese Maxey should be frustrated because he should have some people to play with. What if, for instance, last year they traded for P.J. Tucker, instead of Harden? There's a piece that one of the guys they were going up against from the Heat that you could use and traded for pieces instead of just giving away draft choices and all the complementary parts, Curry and Drummond, for this guy who's, he's a depreciating asset. He's like a sports car that's had 170,000 miles driven on it and is just going to break down. And you can see it coming. You can see it happening. It's more exacerbated with Joel Embiid not playing until Game 3. Anyway, I had to get that off my chest. It was really just a segue to get to that.
My wish for you as we close out this Blue White Breakdown podcast is you finally, at some point in the next 5 to 6 days, get Howard Eskin to take the cheese on Twitter and get into a fight with you, because I think you would really enjoy that, and I hope it happens for you.
I would just sit there and laugh and say, you know what? I think you need to buy another mink coat. Now get out of here.
All right, guys. We'll be back next week, and Who knows what we're going to talk about? I think we're going to talk about Will Levis though next week, Dave. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, you better start going into
it. I'll get into it with you over Will
material, Levis, buddy, because the easy podcasts are over. You're gonna have to branch out. You're gonna have to get out. You have sports knowledge. We need to expose more of your sports knowledge to the general Penn State population.
You can expose my sports knowledge. I just want to expose you, Jones. I want to expose you, my man.
I don't think anyone wants to see that. All right.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.